All righty, good. Do we have anybody in cyberspace with us?
There is nobody with us.
Okay, Chair will call this meeting to order then. First item is to approve minutes of May 16th.
So moved.
So moved, seconded. Any amendments or changes? None, not hearing any. All those-
Now, we've got didn't we table the minutes?
No,
Those
We-
you
we
had
did-
already
you
approved.
already
Okay,
approved. It was the meeting before you tabled.
okay, I'm
Right.
just, my memories.
Yeah, okay. So all those in favor of the motion offered by Commissioner Petrie, indicate by saying aye.
All right,
Those opposed, the vote unanimous. Item 2 is to discuss the Conservation District's Equipment Field Day. We got a communication from the Conservation District. They're going to have a,
This would be the second one, Mr. Chairman. They've had it at least once
the past.
prior.
Right,
It'll be in the field, right across the street from the courthouse.
Different.
What it does is it will, allow local farmers, especially small farmers, to see what equipment is available at the low priced rental.
right.
And this is equipment that the Conservation District has purchased over the years via grants.
Right.
And they just
Yep.
charge a small amount, to kind of maintain the equipment, that kind of stuff. But this will give the farmers an opportunity especially the new farmers or small farmers, to see what equipment would be available to them that would cost them a lot more, or would make it unfeasible to run their farm because of the cost of the rentals.
Right. I remember, it was about 15 years ago, we had purchased a fertilizing machine for use for all the farmers because of the nitrogen overload in all the rivers. It was a good program. A lot of farmers in the county took advantage of that.
Yeah, and now there's expanded
They got expanded
equipment.
equipment.
They have about 8 or 10 pieces.
Yeah.
10 or 12 pieces of equipment, and they make it a fun day,
Yep.
they do it on a Friday afternoon so that it doesn't interfere with, a farmer's work day.
Right.
They figure it's the best day for them to take off, and they'll serve like small refreshments and that kind of stuff to encourage farmers. Last year, I walked through, and it was very well attended
Okay.
and well appreciated, that the Conservation District offers.
Well, I appreciate them being respectful of our time and setting up
A separate
showing
one for you to
yeah,
look at.
on Thursday.
It is fairly interesting, your Thursday meeting, you guys can,
Yep.
cause they'll have it all set up, you can just take a walk over and look, and Elena will be there to, explain that. Some of the equipment, particularly that I don't understand, you gentlemen might be much better versed at it than I am.
How many farmers do we have? Do we have a count on?
She'll give you a full count of small farms, large farms, everything. She'll lay it all out for you.
Okay,
The other thing, Mr. Commissioner, is that by having her and the funding that the county gives also allows access to federal funds, which I think still exists, for, local farmers that they couldn't get if we didn't have the Conservation District. So it's kind of like a twofold thing. During her budget presentation to the subcommittee, she actually gave out those numbers. And they're actually logged in your big thick budget binder. That kind of information is in there.
do they work with the cooperative extension?
They work closely with Cooperative Extension.
But they're not.
They're not affiliated.
Okay.
They're separate.
No, sir, they're
They
totally
work together.
separate.
Okay.
One's under the university system, one's under the agricultural
And
department.
they don't do exactly the same thing.
No.
There is some, I wouldn't call it overlap, but there's certainly some consultation.
Right, well, it's just to know that they're separate, but they work together.
Yes, sir.
Well, they do.
She just wanted to make sure it was okay for me to invite the delegation members.
Yep, that's fine.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we got no problem.
And I know,
Like the public, like anybody.
I know, she'll invite the public, but I know for sure there'll be some delegation members.
Yeah.
There was last year, so
Yeah.
I presume there will be again this year.
Okay. All righty, guys, have any other questions? We'll just schedule for July 17th on Thursday for us to see the equipment. And, if you have any questions, it'd be good to get those questions to her in advance and make sure she has the answers to them. Joe will get questions on the number of farms, but they'll have that off the,
Well,
they'll know that.
I think she knows that off
She
the
knows
top
off
of
the
her
top of her
head.
head.
well, my wife's probably having that ablation down in Boston, so
Oh,
right around that
Okay,
time.
well, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. You know, life is what happens while you make plans, you know?
You know,
All right, we get some upcoming events listed on our agenda. Item 4 is any old and new business. Okay. Where we get a grant?
Yes, so this is an amendment for a grant that we have for the CAC. It's some state funding from the state of New Hampshire. You may remember, Chairman, they gave us this funding a year and a half ago, Diane, but we were already 6 months into the cycle. And
Yeah,
it was a lot of moving parts. We weren't really quite sure how to manage it all. So they have allowed us to have an extension into it for 1 full year, so that we can try to spend down some of that, which is great. The funding is primarily allocated for some staffing and things like
that's
that.
a VAWA, is that part of VAWA?
No,
No,
this
it's
is state,
separate.
all state funds.
All
So we
state.
do get VOCA funds, which is separate,
Right.
but this is state funding allocated to each CAC. in the
Right,
state.
surviving.
And it is budgeted, I mean,
Yeah.
it is in our operating budget
Okay.
as a revenue.
and what's CAC, what do we,
Our child
Child
advocacy
advocacy.
center.
Yeah.
gotcha.
Okay,
And in fact,
yeah,
if I may, Mr. Chairman, I think, Chris.
Yeah.
Some of the paperwork that we need to be doing for ICE is gonna involve CAC, which I'll communicate with you about that.
Yes, that makes sense.
It's just simply that you're a resource for interviews.
Absolutely.
That's,
Absolutely.
you know, and we might need some backup information on that, but.
Yep, absolutely. I can easily pull statistics for those types of things.
Yeah, the
on a
biggest thing I
overlap basis.
think is that we can show that we have certified interviewers.
Absolutely.
That's, I think, gonna
That's
be,
correct.
that's gonna be the
Yeah.
key.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Between our stuff and our national accreditation, I'm sure that will.
Yeah, that'll be way more than I'm sure any other House of Correction can provide
Yeah.
for them, so.
Great. So do you have the certificate of authority, Diane? And this?
Yes,
I have the
and-
grant agreement.
Yeah, I have both,
Okay.
so,
that's all, accept the motion from the vice chairman to accept the grant from the state.
So moved.
The second,
okay.
all,
You'll need to sign the second page.
Yeah.
Don, you will need to sign the certificate. Sorry,
Here it is.
It's all right with me.
where am I, son? Right up here?
right up there.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't marry my father.
What are we talking about today? What's it, 22nd?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like
Okay,
it's
so-
not planned, I have a-
Okay.
Oh,
The,
man, checks and everything.
Well, they're not made out to me, so.
Yeah.
Not made out to Mark Brave either.
Okay.
Oh.
Thank you, commissioners. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Well, that motion was unanimous. I'm assuming I didn't.
Janet will-
Somebody will get in touch with you about what we need.
Okay,
Okay,
absolutely.
thank you,
Okay,
thank
I'll
you
just
very much.
have
Thank you.
Janet notarize this
Perfect.
and I'll give it to you.
All right.
and
Thank you,
it's
Diane.
a
I
done
appreciate it. Have a
deal.
great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Any other old new business, gentlemen, we talk about right now?
Good.
Okay, questions related from the public. You got anything for us, Susan, this morning, or anyone else joining us?
Well, I just want to thank you and Mr. Bauer for going on Monday to, I know that it was a very unpleasant, not a very happy situation. And it's been a long time. But it was nice to see that justice was served. And I appreciate the work that you all put into that and, doing the impact statement.
Yeah, we worked long and hard on that impact statement, George and I.
It was
We were the
very well
only, we were the
written.
only two that signed it, because you gentlemen
You weren't in office.
you weren't in office during this, so. You know, we thought a lot about
Everything.
about, you know, all the circumstances. I think, Mr. Chairman, may I speak for a second on that? I think the most important thing, and unfortunately it wasn't highlighted in the union leader or in Seacoast Times or what, this online Seacoast or Foster's, they keep calling themselves different things. You know, that the things that then Sheriff Brave said were happening, like he was being discriminated against and all that stuff, all turned out to be full lies. And that was fully written about in Damian Fisher.
Is that the Globe?
In depth, no.
In depth, New Hampshire. He wrote a complete article. It was really long but he pointed that out as one of the 74 lies that Sheriff Brave put forward in trying to cover up the investigation. The Attorney General mentioned 74 lies at the sentencing hearing. So, they actually apparently counted them as lies that occurred to the county and lies that occurred to the Attorney General and lies that occurred, as the investigation continued to proceed, particularly in front of the grand jury. So I was pleased to see that documented, that was one of the lies.
Well, one of the things that, I got from this is if he would have come clean right when he was discovered and told the truth, he probably wouldn't be serving any time.
That's
And
true.
that's something, other people that get caught in a situation, they might not get caught or not do them.
Well, there's one other thing that I want to mention, because I, not that I pay attention to social media, because you tend to run down a rat hole when you look at social media, but one of the things that they have, that was been mentioned reoccurring was how was he able to get away with it for so long? What people don't get is that his lying and his misrepresentation of what he was doing was blatant. It wasn't detectable initially. He was saying, well, I'm going to this educational place. You take the man, the chief law enforcement officer, for his word. And then he forged the documents to support that. So when people say, well, why didn't you catch it earlier? Well, the reason why was because he's lying. And he was just lying about where his whereabouts was, what he was doing. And so we did catch it eventually. Eventually we did catch it. I was appreciative of the judge's comments regarding Mr. Brave's attempt to discredit the county administration by his claims of we were picking on him, we were racist, we were all these things. Those are all actions of deflection, because he was afraid he was going to get caught, and he admitted to that. He said he admitted that he did that because he was afraid he was going to get caught.
The other thing, Mr. Chairman, is he continued to commit the frauds even after
He was confronted.
he was confronted.
That's
Right.
the problem.
And that came up, the
That came
judge
up.
also said
Right.
that. He just continued the frauds, until we shut off his credit card
Right.
but when you turn investigations over to law enforcement, we stop our investigation because we don't want to do something that messes up what the law
Right.
enforcement is doing.
Right.
So at the beginning, they said, just leave it alone. Let us handle it.
Right.
So when they gave us the word, we then canceled his credit card. But there was, it did go on for a period of time after he was confronted. But he, I think he thought, oh, I must have got away with that. When in reality, it was
Right.
while the Attorney General was looking into it.
And could you explain, because we want to put this in the record, that the way we handle credit cards now is a lot different?
I don't think
No.
I don't think it's any different. I think
Well,
that.
you monitor the,
Oh, well, our auditor still looks at
Looks at
every single credit card transaction. In fact, they come here a separate day and they look at every.
There's one
single
auditor,
credit
there's one
card
auditor
transaction
that
the county
looks
does.
at every single bill and transaction. Since all of this has happened, first of all, we have a lot less credit cards.
There you go.
There used to be quite a few credit cards in the sheriff's department. With all of this happening, nobody down there wanted a credit card. So we have a lot less credit cards. We also don't have people traveling like he did.
Yeah.
We're seeing a lot less of that, and the meals and whatnot. I think it's, what we're seeing as far as expenditures on credit cards are more for items and whatnot, very little travel.
What about the sheriffs when they go out and pick up a prisoner?
If,
Do
if,
they carry a credit card?
yeah,
No.
if they have to get fuel,
Right,
Yeah.
that's what
yeah,
I'm.
if they have to
I'm
get
getting at.
fuel. Because, some of the trips are, out of state,
Right.
transports and there's just not enough gas.
But what
in
they
the
do
car.
now is they use their own credit card.
And we
Oh, and
reimburse them.
reimburse, oh, that's fine.
Yeah, the only person in the sheriff's department that has a credit card is Sheriff Moan. She
Okay.
has one, and yeah, but we've just seen that,
That was the way the policy was the card was issued to the individual, and the individual's credit was on the line. So that's when he went after other employees' credit cards, like Justin Bellins and stuff, and, Justin came up to us and says, I don't want this thing, get this thing away from me.
So we canceled it that day.
We canceled it that day.
When Sheriff Brave called Justin from Florida and looking for his credit card number to fly back,
Right.
we immediately canceled Justin Bellin's credit card.
but even prior to that, there were others that had credit cards, and they were asking, it's like, I don't want this. I don't want the credit card. They would rather, use their own and get reimbursed. I mean, we issue checks every week, so reimbursements come very quickly. They know that they're going to get their check
Yeah.
and whatnot, but,
There's a lot of vendors that we have too that will only accept credit cards. They won't
Well,
bill, they don't.
everything's changed as
Right.
as a business person,
Right.
everything's changed, in terms of our ability to acquire,
Invoicing.
things we need.
Right.
It used to be all different, and now, everybody's just scared about getting paid.
Yeah,
So
everybody wants
they'll-
their money.
but
Right.
we have a policy here at the county that if we can be invoiced for something, that needs to occur, that an employee that has a credit card can't charge something to that vendor. What we see is Amazon purchases and whatnot through, our purchasing director and whatnot, I believe, maybe the jail as well.
The Association of Counties has joined,
I see that.
is large enough now to join the Amazon business,
Yeah.
and we get tremendous discounts.
Yeah.
They're just unbelievable discounts.
Yeah.
And credits. I think the last one I just forwarded, which I got last night, I forwarded it to Cheryl and Jody and across the street. We start with like a $3,500 credit. In other words, they're giving us that in free materials. Just, in an effort that they hope that we continue to order through that process. So we'll have to see how the pricing matches up, but we'll leave that up to purchasing.
Yeah. But in most cases with purchasing, Cheryl, our purchasing director, we will complete a credit application with a vendor and then be invoiced. Most of our vendors are still.
Well, there's another thing
Invoiced.
that if you use a credit card, a lot of companies will charge you 3% fee.
We
I
don't
mean,
do that.
it's under the,
Yeah.
sometimes that's under the radar, but you do pay.
Oh, I'm sure. And
Cash talks.
the other part of this, and that's why, as Diane mentioned, we don't do any electronic transfers either. I'm talking about to vendors.
No, we do not.
We only cut checks. We don't.
Well, that's a good thing because you don't pay the fee.
Yeah, the only would be for a bond payment is wired. We don't do ACH
We
transactions to
do no
vendors.
ACH transactions. Some vendors want us to, but we don't.
No.
We just cut checks. And like we said, I know for a fact, because I was there, Rockingham only does payables every other week, but we do payables weekly, so vendors really don't complain about the fact that we don't do ACHs, because they know they get their checks, you know, more often.
Well, it's a sad time for Strafford County and it's, thankfully, it's behind us. And, there's not a lot you can do when someone tries to defraud the system. I mean, you'll catch them eventually. But when they're good liars and professionals at it.
But we will receive an insurance payment for the amount, that the
Right.
Attorney General, posted there, the 18, almost $19,000.
Yeah, so we're insured for that. The insurance company will probably go after Mr. Brave at some point.
Well,
We'll see
yeah.
how that goes. Yeah. But we're 100% covered, so that's good.
I expect that they were waiting for documentation from the Attorney General's office, who would not furnish it until the plea was totally done, but I've received promises from Tom Velarde that they'll immediately forward it now.
I just have,
That'll
I
be good, Jen.
I have two questions. Did the county incur legal fees during all of this, and is he responsible for those, or did we absorb that?
We didn't incur any.
We didn't.
We didn't incur anything, okay.
Because it was handled through the attorney.
Yeah.
Attorney
So when I suspected the fraud, and then it was kind of verified when we called JetBlue, and JetBlue verified who the second person was on the flight. One of the earlier flights to Florida, I immediately called Tom Velarde, and we of course immediately agreed that the county couldn't investigate it. And he called the Attorney General's office and they immediately agreed to pick up the case. So, I mean, literally, Jill and I were interviewed. It's funny, not funny, haha, but the only reason I confronted him, it's really Diane's fault. The only reason
Your fault.
the reason I confronted him about those JetBlue flights was that when I fly to Buffalo, I fly JetBlue. JetBlue doesn't have a first class. They have what's called even more space seats. But that even
Which
more
you need.
space seats. Come on now, I've lost 15 pounds. Now, come on. On the even more space seats are really analogous to first class. The auditor picked it up on the 100% credit card review and asked us about it. And I said, no, of course not. We don't, if the county flies anywhere, it's never first class.
Yeah.
And I know how important 100% clean audit is to Diane. So I decided to reach out to the sheriff. And I honestly believed that he was going to give me a logical explanation. You know, he's a tall man, maybe he needed that extra space to sit. The deputy that he alleged went with him, who wasn't, but is a big man. I mean, he's just a big guy. And so I said, well, maybe they needed that to fit but then when he wouldn't be a good poker player. Let's just leave it that way. When I confronted him and the fact of one hotel room and that kind of stuff, when I confronted him with that, you could tell he was going by the seat of his pants, that he was making the stuff up because he didn't expect to be confronted. And that's why when I called Tom Velarde, and that's when he called the Attorney General's office. So,
I mean,
one thing I didn't realize is you can call JetBlue and they'll tell you who the other ticket was for. I never knew that. Within 5 minutes, we knew who the other ticket was for.
Yeah, it was very obvious that receipt that was handed to us was, that the name of we didn't that initial review, but yeah.
But anyway, it was just I did it because I honestly thought I could write a letter to the auditor to say, this is the reason why that occurred, but I realized really early on that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's been on the course.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
we have a contract for the mowing of the hay fields and things like that. Does that come up on a yearly basis or every so many years? And
5
is that every,
Six.
so it's
Six,
6 years?
It's 6
Okay.
years, and the reason is that's the crop cycle.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, I was just trying, I was.
I just wanna, it's okay, I don't mean to be. rude.
Yeah, it's the crop cycle, because they
You have to
fertilize
the land.
and,
Yeah.
and it,
I was just curious, cause I know last year, I think that we renewed.
Yeah,
that,
it's a
and
6-year
so
crop
it's a
cycle.
6-year contract, okay.
yeah, it's a
Thanks,
six.
Californian, sorry.
But there's also provisions in there that the county had to take the land for some government purpose that
Well,
we haven't.
yeah, what we did was did it by parcel.
Right.
And that way, if we took out one parcel, we would know how much to reduce the payment that the farmer would make to us.
Yeah,
Hey,
question?
yes, sir. I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Curtis Register. I'm a town councilor from Durham, and I've been tasked to come to these things, so you're gonna see my face running around a little more frequently, but I wanted to make sure you knew who I was, and I was a random guy walking in
You're
here.
more than welcome, sir.
Hey, I appreciate it, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, so what's the Durham Town Council wanna send you over here more often? Is that what's going on?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we're trying to work on our situational awareness with our adjacent municipalities and
I see.
governmental structures, so.
Oh.
And if you ever have any off-hour questions,
Yeah.
you know,
Thank you,
my
sir.
line's available 24/7.
Good to go.
And I'll ask Janet just to, send you an email with my direct
Hey, I
line.
appreciate that.
Let's
sir.
And
get
that's my-
his emails on our notices for our.
My phone at the nursing home rings through to my cell.
Good to go.
So there might be a time when, cause it only rings like 2 or 3 times. I'm not quick enough to grab it,
Sure.
but I'll always call you right back.
I dig that, yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from anybody? No? All right then, so then, item 6 is we do the movement to non-public, discussing personnel and contract negotiation, that's so moved.
So moved.
So seconded, the roll call, Commissioner Petrie,
Yes.
Commissioner Levitt, myself, yes, okay, the commission will retire now to non-public session. Thank you all.